Welcome to the finish line with Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura, and today I'd like to get this table runner done that I did last month. I love ruler work, so I'm going to be doing some ruler work, but I will not be doing any quilting without gloves. There is not a project that I work on without gloves. The reason is it saves a lot of stress on my body. Normally, we do have to hold on to this quilt, and we are moving it under the fabric. Unlike a sewing machine where the feet are working, our hands are working. And you can see that the speed of my hands and the speed of that quilt are not going the same. Now, I could hold on to the quilt, but when I do that, and if you try it at home, you'll see that as soon as you put your hand into any other position other than flat, you will feel that muscle that comes up, over, and around to the back. So by me trying to grip onto the fabric, I find that not only are my fingers sore, my hands, my wrists, and all the way up to the back of my neck, and then I'll have a really sore neck. So having the gloves definitely makes me be able to grip my fabric much better. So I'm using Christa Quilt's gloves right now, and they have little grippies on either end of the fingers, so we can wear them reversed. And you can just see already how that grip is making a difference on moving that. If I don't have it versus I do have it, that makes it a lot easier for me to quilt, and it means I can quilt a lot longer. I even use the gloves when I am using rulers. Even though my rulers do not slide, my hands can slide on top of the rulers. So by wearing gloves, I'm able to grip the quilt and the templates or the rulers at the same time. So I'm holding them and I can move them in any position I want. Also, our templates are quite thick, so we can hold on to them with our fingers. But by doing that, we do have that same muscle that we're using going up into the back of the neck. So I don't want to do that. I want to force my hands to stay as flat as I can. For gloves, it is important to get a pair that you're comfortable with and with good grippies on the end. The particular gloves I'm using are Christa Quilt gloves, and it's pretty much one size fits all, and they really do. I have extra small hands, and they fit fine, and my friends use them who have a little bit bigger hands than I do, so I do find that they fit almost everyone. So what I'm going to do today is quilt this quilt, and I'm going to use a clamshell pattern. So I'm going to be able to go around this clamshell. Now this is designed for ruler work, so we do have to have the proper foot on our machine and a little bit of marking on the quilt, and we're going to be set to go. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to quilt this with this ruler, and at the end of the video I'm going to share a few other tips on how and when you can wear your gloves that does not involve sitting down quilting. So let's get this marked and get it ready for the machine. My clamshells are 3 inches. So even though I need a 3-inch space, I do need a marking in between. So I have 1.5 inch spaces. The first line that I'm going to line up is right along this top. So I'm going to line that up, and I'm going to be able to go around. Because the foot has a 1/4 inch space, I'm going to end up touching that top line. So let's do that first row. So I have that top line lined up, and I'm going to stitch around. Hold some of my quilt and just go up and around. I'm going to be able to stop in that little hole and go back up around. When I've hit that last spot, move the ruler, line up, hold on to everything, and around we go. And every time I hit that end, I just can slide it over. And I'm just going to keep that until I come right to the end. Now I could move up and go over, but in this case, I'm going to take the threads off and always start on my left-hand side. I'm going to be able to do my next shell. I'm going to use that same line, and that's going to go on that second line. And to know where my center is, I'm just going to be using that picture on that ruler. So I have that line matched up. But underneath that maybe you can't see, this is the clamshells that I did. So I can see the stitching underneath. And that just gives me a good start, and it helps keep my clamshells all matched up. I do like to start off of the quilt and stitch on. And now I'm going to be able to continue. And stitch all the way around. Keep my quilt nice and straight and move the ruler. Can keep going the entire second row. So this is what the clamshell looks like. This was the first row. The second row is in between. The third row will be the same as this, and that's going to come in. So I'm going to continue and just do this entire thing with these lovely little clamshells. And the distance from the top of this clamshell to the bottom point of the clamshell is 3 inches. When those lines are faded, you can really see how pretty those clamshells are. And being able to control things with gloves really can make a big difference. So there are a few other things that I do use my gloves for. If I'm sitting at my domestic machine and I'm quilting with a walking foot, I still use the gloves just because I'm able to hold on to the fabric better. I also use one glove when I'm adding on my binding. Same thing, I'm just able to grip this better. If I'm machine stitching my binding back on, I also use a glove. And one other thing is if I have a quilt and it has a very long border that needs to go onto it, there's a portion of that quilt that wants to drag down, I will use one glove and the other hand free so that I can glide it through my regular sewing machine. So walking foot, borders, binding, and binding. I will use one glove on my other machine. So I do use quilting gloves all the time, not only at my sit-down machine for any type of quilting, but at my home machine for some of that sewing where I have a lot of bulk, a lot of heavy fabric on my left-hand side, so I only need one glove. As a matter of fact, a lot of times I can't find one glove when I come to quilt because it's over at my other machine. If you've never used gloves before, I would definitely recommend them. And if you've never used them near your regular sewing machine, well, that's another thing to give a try. I'll put some links in the description, and as always, thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Instagram, Facebook. I have a newsletter, all free under Sew Very Easy. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.